folks, and welcome to the OceanState Cuisine. Today we're going to be making a ground beef, hearty, and bean chili, which is packed with tons of flavor. So let's get started. I'd like to apologize because this image that we're looking at did not come out very clear. So going over the ingredients, we see right in the front I have about a pound to a pound and a half of ground beef. I'm the only one eating this chili, so I don't need too much. Then next to that, in that cup, we have some chopped onion. Then in the back row, starting on the left-hand side, we have a can of chili beans. And then above that, we have some ground cumin. And then next to that, we have some Italian seasoning. If you don't have Italian season, basil and oregano works well here. Then above that, we have the star of the show, chili powder. And then in the center, we have a jar of marinara sauce. And then next to the sauce, we have some minced garlic. We have some ground black pepper, some salt, some paprika, and a can of beer. There may be more ingredients as we go on, which I'll discuss in the video, which we see right here with the olive oil. So first we're going to give it a nice splash of olive oil. And I'm doing this on about a medium simmer. So we're going to bring this up to heat a little bit. And then we're going to add a little bit of butter to this. What the butter does is that it helps the oil not brown or burn. And then it's also going to add some flavors. Because the first thing we're going to be doing is sweating the onion and the garlic. Sweating just means by adding salt to the onion and makes the oils and the flavors release. So now I'm adding the onion, and I used about a medium-sized onion for the amount that I'm making. Onion is one of the best ingredients in a chili, in my opinion. For a couple of years, I was the kitchen manager and the cook for a large church group that also had a child care, and we used to cook each day for Meals on Wheels. So I used to make enough chili for about 150 people each time I used to make it. And they really enjoyed this chili. I was amazed when these young children, because the children that we used to cook for, they were anywhere from 6 months old right up to about 4 years old or 5 years old. It's amazing on how they love spicy food. Now we're going to salt the onion, as I explained earlier in the video. Now I'm going to add the minced garlic, and I added about 2 to maybe 3 heaping teaspoons right here of the minced garlic. And then we're just going to stir it all together, and then we're going to simmer it all for about maybe a couple of minutes. I'm doing the onion and the garlic first before the ground beef, just because I wanted to use this skillet right here, and it's not a very large skillet. And then simmering these for a couple of minutes is really going to release those flavors inside. And then once they cooked for a couple of minutes, I'm going to transfer them over to a small bowl. Now we're going to increase the heat to about almost medium high. We're going to start adding our ground beef to the skillet. Now with this large fork that I have, this is actually like a salad fork, but it works excellent for breaking up ground beef when it comes to recipes like this. But I do try to keep the ground beef a bit chunky, because as it cooks in the sauce later on, it's going to break down even more. And we also don't need to brown or cook this all the way, because it's still going to continue to simmer for 2 hours. And now I'm going to add some salt to this and the fresh ground black pepper. Chili is supposed to be packed with great flavors, so we want to season every process. And then we just want to keep stirring it occasionally, just as we see right here. And now that the meat is at the right consistency that I want it to be, I'm now using a large wooden spoon. And now is a good time now to add the minced garlic and the chopped onion now into the ground beef. And then we just want to stir this occasionally until it's cooked. And now the ground beef is pretty much all set. Now in a sauce pot, we're going to start transferring now the ground beef mixture into the pot. And I add all the liquids because those liquids adds flavor. Most of it is just like an H2O anyway. Now you could also brown all this in the pot also, but I like using a skillet because there's more surface area where the ground beef makes better contact with the skillet. Plus, if you try to brown meat in a deep pot, it steams more than it actually browns. Now soon comes the fun part, adding all of our ingredients. So the first thing I'm adding here is the jar of marinara sauce. I like using store-bought marinara sauce for my chilies because it also has added flavors to it. So you could eliminate the process of making a homemade sauce. Or as us Italians would say, gravy. So now we're going to stir this all around. And that's about the consistency I like my sauce to be right there. And now I am going to add the chili beans with the juice and all that's inside the can because that adds flavor to the chili. You could use almost any kind of bean when it comes to chili. Kidney beans is very popular. I've also used baked beans. But when I use baked beans, because they come packed in sugar and flavors and all that, I rinse them off. Because I don't like a sweet taste in chili. But I do like the chili beans best because of the sauce that comes packed in the can along with the beans. You cannot make a chili without chili powder. Chili powder is a must for making chili. And I add a good amount of chili powder. I've seen many cooking shows and recipes where they add like a teaspoon. You're not even going to taste that. So I give my chilies a pretty good dose of chili powder. And now in goes the ground cumin. And I add a pretty good amount of this too, as we see right here, almost equal parts. Chili powder and ground cumin you could also use to make a taco sauce. And then next I'm going to add the Italian seasoning. And again, if you don't have this on hand, but you have basil or you have oregano, you could also use that. Because I want the chili to be loaded with flavors. Now in goes some paprika because paprika has some nice earthy back tones to it. It actually has flavors. So we're going to give it a good sprinkle of this. And again, guys, in my videos, I don't go over measurements. It's all by sight, which I think most cooks do nowadays, except when it comes to baking like cakes and stuff, then you want to use measurements. Now in goes some ground black pepper. And of course, some salt. And during the stage of this, we got the temperature on the range at about medium to medium high heat. You don't want it too high because it's going to start splattering and making a mess. Now we're going to give it a nice stir. Now I like my chili with some spice to it, so we're going to add some sriracha sauce and some hot sauce to this. Normally I just use hot sauce, but seeing I had sriracha sauce in my refrigerator, I decided why not. Now if you have some hot peppers on hand, yeah, dice some of those up and put those in, or even crushed red pepper flakes. So now in goes the hot sauces. And I start off kind of light with them because I could always add more later, but if it gets too spicy for you, you can't subtract. Because this is something you want to taste after about maybe a half hour or so and see if it's at your liking. And of course those flavors are going to release more and blend more as the chili continues to simmer. So now I'm just giving it a stir. And now it's simmering at a pretty strong simmer right now. And I got this gadget right here, which is fantastic. It's a splatter screen. And this thing is a must-have for even cooking bacon, sauces, anything like this, where if you don't want to cover it, you got this option where it doesn't get all over your range. And now in goes some beer. I'm not going to add the whole can because I'm not making a lot of chili. The beer really adds a great robust flavor to this. And then I'm also going to be adding more beer a little bit later as it continues to simmer and starts to thicken up a bit. I also sometimes use red wine, and I'll add that at the start when I actually brown the ground beef. And that's it when it comes to combining and adding all the ingredients for our chili. Now the only thing left to do is just let it simmer and do its magic. And I simmer mine on a very low heat. And I simmer it total for about 2 hours. I know some great chili cooks who will cook their chili all day long. And then after about 20 minutes or so, I'm going to give it another stir. And we can see the consistency right now. That's the way I like it, where the hamburger meat is still pretty chunky. Well, I should say the ground beef. And then I would say about every 20 minutes or so, you may want to check on it and give it a stir and then start tasting it. So this here way, if it needs something like a little more garlic or something like that, you could add it. Now I'm adding the hot sauce. I actually thought I added that when I added the sriracha sauce, but it is what it is. Sometimes I find if you add hot sauces too soon, they kind of lose their potency as the food continues to simmer. And now I'm going to add a little more beer to this, because it's cooked now for about an hour. Now I'm not looking for a very loose chili, but you'd be surprised on how it starts to firm up and dry out a bit while it's cooking. And so adding the beer in stages like this is going to maximize the flavors. And it also sometimes helps cut down on the oil content. And while your chili is still cooking, you don't want it too thick because it could dry out and burn to the bottom of the pot. And then chili really thickens up once it's refrigerated overnight. And here we are, folks. There's the final product. And let me tell you something, this chili came out excellent. And then you could garnish it the way that you want. I like shredded cheddar cheese on mine, and some people even like to put a dollop of sour cream. So anyways, folks, that's how I make my homemade chili. Thanks again as always for stopping by and watching the OceanState Cuisine. Feel free to sub up for more cool videos coming your way. And then also comment down below because as always, we love to hear from you. And until the next time, you guys have yourself a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.